These ones always take the longest, but they're the most fun. Hello YouTubers, this is the noobifier. Welcome to the next installation of the ship history series that, as I said, I'm enjoying making. Ship history videos take a ton of time to research, verify, vet, and script, so please, if you enjoy the video, support me by linking it to a friend or org mate. Like with the Cutlass video I posted to Twitter a couple days ago seeking creative variant ideas from the community. In no particular order, this is what they came up with. The Freelancer sacrificed all cargo space for some chairs and a ceiling-mounted pole. The Lounge Lancer converted the cargo area into a relax area with puffy leather recliners. The AFK Lancer had specialized autopilot that avoids hazards and gets you to your destination when you're not around. The Pot Lancer with specialized equipment for growing pharmaceuticals. The Zen Lancer is a mobile spa for servicing microtech rooftop to rooftop. The Hook Lancer is designed like the CH-54 for picking up full cargo containers. The Sachs Lancer, which replaced the weapons for massive speakers to play jazzy saxophone music. The Hab Lancer, which as the name suggests is a portable easy hab. The Fur Lancer, with specialized cages for transporting furry creatures or people who think they are furry creatures. These aren't my ideas, they're from the community. The Frust Lancer for frustration, which is the variant that kills the player for using the ramp or the ladder. The Lancer Sen, a bigger version of the Reliant Sen Science Lab. The Lancer Mic, which has converted the entire interior into a disco club. The No Lancer, which never shows up on any scanners due to strong stealth technology. The Lancer Max AC for Atlantic City, which has slot machines, bad onboard food, and entertainment. The Lancer Max Plus is even wider, allowing for it to carry 400 SCU, the SAR Lancer Ambulance, the Flame Lancer Fire Suppression Vehicle, and one of my favorite suggestions, the Lancer View, which steals the cockpit glass from the Prospector. Thank you to those who participated, that was fun. Today I will try to tackle the next oldest original ship series, the Freelancer. Please be sure to check out the complete history of the F8 Lightning and the troubled Cutlass. Let's begin. Believe it or not, for this ship, we should start all the way back at 1997. Chris Roberts had just begun work on a vision that he had well before Wing Commander was even conceived. He wanted to realize a virtual galaxy whose systems execute their own programs regardless of the player's presence. He wanted bustling cities with fully simulated populations, transportation, weather, and economy. Commodity prices in each star system would fluctuate according to the activities of the computer-controlled traders who import and export goods. Chris envisioned thousands of players simultaneously interacting and influencing with this universe through a unique and intuitive user interface that had never been seen before in other games. Each player could pursue a quest set up for their character and join other players to attempt other missions together without needing to exit the game or start a new play mode. Artificial intelligence would fly the player's spacecraft, allowing them to concentrate on combat and other tasks. By the end of 1997, it was officially announced that this new game was in the early stages of a 2.5-year development cycle, and doesn't all of that sound extremely familiar? That game was called Freelancer, which is why it's important today. Chris has always demonstrated his love for good legacy by paying homage to things from his past going forward. Freelancer is a term commonly used to describe a person who is self-employed and not necessarily committed to a particular employer for a very long time. Huge corporations rely on shipping by boat, by plane, or by train. A freelancer, however, may be seen more like a truck driver who may not work for anyone but themselves. The mystique and that idea of being a self-made citizen is likely what drew many to back the Kickstarter for Star Citizen. During the Kickstarter campaign from the 18th of October 2012 and on, there were several pledge options to include the Aurora, the 300, the Cutlass, the Hornet, and the Constellation. The base Freelancer was also an initial pledge option that was offered only as the Freelancer because no variants were announced at the time. With no description or any concept art, backers got in line for it and backed the ship. The name is perfect and appropriate. It wouldn't be until months later when we would actually see the basic design and scale of the ship. Jim Martin was the concept designer who initially worked on the Scythe and the Cutlass. He later did many of the other original ships including the Caterpillar, the Herald, the Hull series, the Buccaneer, and the Endeavour. Months later, Chris interviewed Jim on the 7th of December 2012, immediately after the Kickstarter, about his work on the Freelancer. The community was originally shown two designs. One was pretty angular with some wing extensions on both the upper and lower sides, and the other that became our Freelancer, one with 75% displaying the iconic space bus shape. I remember at the time thinking how modern that original design looked, and it didn't age very well, especially after other designs were introduced. The original side-mounted main weapons can be seen all the way back to V1, but the central rear engines were displaced to make room for the ramp. Chris and Jim discussed the desire for more firepower, which became the top rear-mounted turret that is iconic on all Freelancers. This is also where we see that front landing gear and front door combo, which is pretty common in sci-fi. This access point looked great on paper, but once we had the 3D model in the hangar and we could walk around inside, that hole in the floor caused some huge issues that would later be fixed just by removing it. On the 6th of June 2014, years later, CIG released a concept sale that expanded the Freelancer to a full 4 variants, and we also got the iconic Freelancer promo commercial. This video obviously helped drive sales skyward, pushing that freelance lifestyle. We saw a regular guy making a living running cargo in an agile ship with very comfortable seats. The situation got worse as pirates tried to steal his cargo. While maintaining a resting heart rate of probably 65, both pirates were one-shotted at the same time, and our regular guy lands safely overlooking his cargo being offloaded while sipping on a coffee. Quite the powerhouse, and these types of commercials continue to drive the marketing engine. There were tweaks and changes to the base Freelancer, and it became flight-ready during patch 2.1, January 14th, 2016. Everyone got to test it, and at the time my overall impressions were that it was a solid competitor to the original Cutlass. Don't forget, at that time, the Cutlass was junk. Still at the base price of $110, it offered a lot more cargo, a nicely appointed interior including 4 bunks and 4 seats in the cockpit. The pilot control weapons were always very solid, and the rear turret had a very good field of view and good arcs of fire. Patch 3.4 released a final update to the Freelancer, and now all 4 were released flight ready. I feel that it's important to explore these variants to see if they're true to their concept and to give you more detail about what makes them special. The base Freelancer is the least expensive at $110 and is supposed to carry 66 SCU of cargo, which is slightly more than the Cutlass. Strong gimbaled side turrets mount a total of 4 size 3. The crew turret is accessible from the rear cargo and mounts a pair of size 2s, plus you have missile pylons mounted below the wings. All the variants have a very Winnebago feel to them, with a 2-up, 2-back seat arrangement and a center gangway. The rear 2 crew seats are slightly elevated and each have a console. The pilot and co-pilot sit behind a huge dashboard and look through a panoramic glass that's severely restricted in the vertical axis. I have always personally hated this signature view, mainly because it complicates acquiring a target when defending yourself. For its role, it's maneuverable and quite easy to fly, but not as agile as a Drake Cutlass and nowhere near the agility that's portrayed in the Lancer commercial. I found it fairly simple to keep the guns on target, and I'm happy that the turrets are going to get a rework in patch 3.10, adding to the firepower. Just behind the cockpit, there's a tiny crew space with 4 bunks, some storage, very basic ablutions, no kitchen, nothing fancy, and in reality, nothing that you would actually want to spend more than 24 hours on. The secure cargo room has its own bulkhead, and it's isolated when the main ramp or the side door in the front are open. It's a really odd design because nobody knows actually how the cargo gets loaded and unloaded from this room. If this was a real ship, the middle section would need some kind of side access or drop down like a Connie. I know it's just a video game, and I suppose it really doesn't matter, but I always find this to be odd. When fully loaded, there's barely any room to walk around, which is great because you know for sure that the space is well optimized. The main area has the required mag plates, and if it weren't for the turret rails that hang down, many more land vehicles could actually be carried, making it even more practical. As of right now, it'll transport small speeders like the Dragonfly, provided that you've left enough room for it. The Freelancer Dur, for duration, is specially outfitted for exploration, but it keeps many of the key Freelancer features. It's often referred to as the poor man's Aquila. It's easy to tell from the outside due to its external fuel tanks and sensor humps on the nose. It loses some cargo space to make room for enhanced jump drives and scanners. I was also a bit surprised that some of the space wasn't also dedicated to a small kitchen, a small crew area, or better washrooms. This variant is made to pick a direction and not look back, so I feel that the very Spartan living arrangements would wear very thin after some time. It's a good thing it's just a video game. The max is what happens when you take a base Freelancer, split it down the middle, pull the parts apart, and fill in the gap. The max doubles the cargo capacity, and it's still able to maintain a somewhat good flight behavior because it now sports 4 main engines within its wing nacelles. To do this video project properly, I decided to buy one of each variant so that I could research and get a personal understanding for the variants. Seeing the Max parked next to the base underscores the changes. It's wide, which also frees up more room within the cockpit, the living area, and most noticeably, the ramp. It flies fine, but I can tell I'm flying a Max. Make sure to slow your approach sooner than what you're used to avoid becoming a crater. And I don't quite know what to make of its orange paint. I think it's growing on me, but we just got paint as an option, so you may not care. Finally, we have the MISC, which is for missile, and to be honest, I never really understood this ship. I have no difficulty understanding that it's a missile boat, because in combat, the idea of an MLRS makes a bunch of sense. My confusion stems from modifying this ship as the starting point. There were several times that Ben Lesnick speculated about how he saw this ship operating. He mentioned that the crew would load the missiles from the cargo area on the inside into the side magazines. There was early speculation that it might have better armor and be more agile. The simplest way that I can describe what this ship actually is to me would be a cheaper Vanguard Harbinger alternative that can carry a little bit of cargo. No doubt, put it in the right time and place, the MISC is scary. The MISC doesn't react very well to projectiles like a Vanguard, and firing it may cost more than the target ship is worth. You probably won't care about that because as a support craft, all you need to do is cause havoc while your fighters mop up and create salvage out of your enemy. The green paint scheme works very well. You can tell it's a MISC from the rooftop mounted fuselage with the 2 doors for the missile launchers. That brings us up to today, but the story isn't over. I need to sum up the video with the best advice, which you probably already know. Ships are concepted and we naturally see what we want them to be in the future rather than what they actually become. You should always choose your fleet with the knowledge that missiles are being nerfed in 310 and will probably be buffed again and then nerfed as we go. Turrets are about to get auto-aim, which is a huge buff, and the flight model balance is still being worked. There's no perfect ship in Star Citizen by design, but just like the Avenger Titan and the Drake Cutlass Black, the Freelancer Base and the Freelancer Max are community favorites for a reason, and it's very easy to see why. And that's it. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for spending your time with me. I've actually just published a new website to give the community more information about what goes on behind the scenes and what I'm working on in the future. You can find it at noobifier.com. I'd ask you to take a look and offer feedback. A reminder that these videos take a ton of time, so please link it to a friend if you enjoyed it. It helps a lot. Fly safe, and I'll see you in the verse.